By all accounts, may contain sporadic profanity and occasional innuendo because we're no longer bound by the constraints of the FCC empire.
Zach, I don't mean to rub this in. You are not significantly older than me, but you are a handful of years older than me. In fact, just celebrated a birthday. Do you find as time goes on that you let some of the anger go that maybe you used to have as a younger Zach Krantz and now as an older have experienced some things, that anger maybe just turns into simple annoyance? Is that something that resonates with you?
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head. I think 20 years ago, Zach, the Heat fan, Zach, the Panther fan, Zach, the dad. Well, it wasn't a dad 20 years ago, but like, yeah, that kind of little things would bug me and just piss me off so bad.
Were you a fighter?
What's the matter?
Were you a fighter?
A little bit. I thought I was a tough guy in college. There's 2 scars under in my jaw that would prove otherwise. Florida State weekend in 2000. My buddy was hitting on a girl. We walked down the steps of the club. The boyfriend and about 15 other dudes were waiting for us down there. I tried to turn into the Incredible Hulk. Don't make me angry. It worked for about 2 seconds, and then when I turned around to check on my buddy, some dude picked up a foreign object, hit me in the face with it, and shattered my jaw.
Oh my God. God.
I was at Shands Hospital for 8 hours getting my jaw reconstructed. 2 titanium plates holding my jaw together. That was the end of my tough guy days. I was a bouncer before that. I was a nightclub promoter. After that, shit me. I was playing video games on Friday nights and Saturday nights. That's what I was doing.
Holy hell. So there was an anger phase, a fighter phase with Zach Krantz. Boy, based on what we're about to talk about, I'm glad those days are long gone. Let's go to the open.
By all accounts, is not recorded in front of a live studio audience.
Now, hold on real quick. Do you know what the foreign object was that you got hit with? Was it a bottle? Was it a crowbar? Like, what was it?
I think it was like a brick. I think it was like a little like a brick or a rock off the floor.
Right.
Because he hit me in the sweet spot, and I didn't really feel it, probably because of the drinking that happened over the last 72 hours before that and no sleep. And I would imagine that had something to do with it, but it turned around into a brick, and that was it for me. I wasn't like knocked out cold. Another guy we were with, he got hit and he dropped, and I put him on my shoulder and tried to walk him away from all of it because there was no win in this fight. I lost this fight. Not a lot of people will admit when you win or lose a fight. I lost this one. I broke my jaw. I probably hit 2 or 3 kids, and maybe that was fine. I don't promote violence. I'm not a violent person anymore. I think for a good 18 months, I thought I was a tough guy up in Gainesville because I was a bouncer and, this and that. But I'm not. I'm a teddy bear. I like video games and baking cookies, and I don't like fighting. And that's how I am right now. But yeah, something hit me in the perfect sweet spot. And when I got to the hospital, I walked, by the way, from downtown Gainesville to Shands Hospital.
Hell yeah.
Because the police said they would help, but they have to put me in handcuffs first. And I said, no, thank you. Where's the hospital? Quarter mile that way. Thanks, sir. Appreciate all you do for the community, and I'll see you later. And I walked there, and that was it. And then I had to call my dad at 4:45 in the morning on a Friday night.
Jaw's broken. Got a brick to the face.
The best is just the way we could almost just end. This is a perfect way for me to end the story and walk out and drop the mic. My dad answered the phone. And this is the greatest answer of a phone call of all time of someone, a father in a dead coma at 4:45 in the morning, getting a phone call from a 352 area code, which was Gainesville. He just answered, "Are you in jail or the hospital?" And I went, and he goes, "I hope jail." And I went, "Nope, here's the doctor." And I put the doctor on the phone, and then the doctor explained to my dad what he was just about to do 5 minutes from then, because there was no waiting till somebody got there for me to go into surgery. It was, we need to get him into surgery now. and they had to re-break my jaw again to fix my jaw.
Oh, God, that is gnarly. I will say this, like, that sucked. But in retrospect, everything you just told me, and I've already held you in great esteem, but this far exceeds any badassery I thought that you'd be able to divulge to me about your past. I had no idea that you had a Roadhouse era. I had absolutely no clue that you were Patrick Swayze. That rules ass, man. That's awesome. Like, sorry about
fun.
That's a great ass.
Before that night, I had a great time being a bouncer and a club promoter. I was the head bouncer at the Florida Theater, which was the biggest nightclub in Gainesville. I was there. 80s night on Tuesday. Thursday night was 50-cent pitcher night. That's how far back I go, by the way. 50-cent pitcher night on Thursday night, which was hip-hop night. Friday nights kind of sucked. Saturday nights were good. Sunday nights were good also because kids wanted to get out. I had a great time, and then that happened, and that was it. I was done being a bouncer. But yeah, it was pretty cool for a while. I thought I was on top of the world. Like, girls were coming up to the club and going right to the front where I was and were like, can we get in? And I'm like, yeah, was there 10 of you? Probably none of you are of age. Yeah, come on in the club. Let's go have a good time.
Do bouncers in college towns? Do college? I guess this could be all bouncers, but let's just use your specific scenario. Do college town bouncers get girls? Like, do they what they allow and the gifts they give in terms of line jumping and access, does that actually work to then extending a relationship?
Maybe not extending a relationship past that night or maybe the night after that, but right. The power of that wristband and being able to put it on someone's hand and having them skip the line or having them be able to get their friends in quicker than anyone else. That power in a college town where people go out at night a lot is very, very meaningful and very, very, very good for men up in Gainesville at the time. It was good for me. Good 6 to 8 month span where I didn't think I was Big Zach anymore. I was just good old Zach at that point.
That is awesome.
Then I broke my jaw. Then I was back to being Big Zach who likes video games and Doritos. And I was fine with that also.
Then it's Dorito crumbs and Call of Duty.
A couple bong hits, and then we're good to go. That's it, right?
It will not shock you. It will not shock you at all that though I've talked a lot of shit, have never been in a real significant fight, and B, never worked as a bouncer. I know that you're stunned. I know that it's dropping. I know that this is blowing your mind right now, but no, Ken LaVicka, never, all 5'7" of him and 140 pounds, never worked as a bouncer.
It's a little bit shocking. And I'll tell you what, you would have been perfect as my little partner right there at the front door. Because let me tell you, it didn't matter if you were, and I worked with some ex-football players that were the bouncers there. And of course, the big fraternity kids, all the kids that were pretty juiced up. Whenever they came and asked for a job, I would look at biceps, look at face. Yep. Is it a punchable face? Does he have biceps enough to get my back? Yep. Okay, good. You're in. You're hired. It was a lot of fun for a while, but when you get that one incident, it'll make you think a little bit. Now, a lot of the guys I worked with had those incidents once every 6 months and still loved it and still worked.
Right. But not you, because ultimately you're a lover. You're not someone that wants to be. When you retire as a bouncer, if you did a good enough job, what do they do? Do they hang your little flashlight from the rafters? Is that the one that you use to check IDs? Is that what they put up on the rafters?
My super extended mag light that was about this big and my red security shirt are hanging from the rafters at the Florida Theater right now. Possibly with someone else's blood on the shirt, not mine. There's a possibility that at the bottom of the shirt there's a bite mark or someone who tried to bite the bot, something like that. But I promise you, when I go in there and Matthew is old enough and I could show him the rafters at the Florida Theater, I'm going to show him this is where your father had his jaw shattered into 17 spots right here. This was
your dad. I earned that damn shirt in the rafters with some other punk's DNA all over it. I'm hoping not to make you angry here because I work out of a place of annoyance. I learned a long time ago that being angry, being frustrated, there's no point. But I do live a lot of my life annoyed. I am unfortunately a cynic. I see things and I tend to fester in the annoyance of them. Why does this happen? Why does this exist? That's stupid. Like, that's just my outlook on a lot of things. Makes me a perfect grumpy sports media type. There's a lot of me. I'm certainly not one of one. We had to do it eventually. Let's just let's relive Sunday afternoon, Panthers, Rangers, overtime, ESPN.
Off the face-off. Gustafsson, they score! Through the screen of Wenberg, who might have touched it. And
That's enough. That's enough.
I don't need any more than that. That sucked beyond belief at that point. To lose a game like that. And listen, it could have went either way. The Dolphins, the Rangers could have literally been sitting here today going, I can't believe we lost like that. But man, to lose like that to the Rangers in overtime at home in Sunrise, oh God, that just sucked. That really sucked.
You give up a shorthanded goal to go down 4-2. You go to the third period, and then you come storming back. You almost score 3 times in the final 4 minutes to win the game in front of a frenzied crowd. That was extremely annoying. What's more annoying is that in that game, you don't have to be a hockey fan or a Panthers follower, and I promise that we're not going 40 minutes on the Panthers here, okay? But you can appreciate the annoyance of people who are rooting for the Panthers, and I'm not Joe Hockey. I'm Panthers playoff fan, okay? But when the Panthers outshoot the Rangers 37-23, and they dominate for a third straight game, vast, expansive stretches of play. Get this. The Panthers took 108 shots overall. 108, triple figures in a 3-period and over half of overtime game. 108 to the Rangers 44. So they're plus 14 shots on goal. Wait,
let me stop you there for 1 second because I got to tell you what happened when my brother, while we're watching the game, screamed out at me and said, oh, the shots on goal is like 94 to like 32 at this point. I'm like, man, they're really out shooting them for this whole series so far. I thought it was a series. I didn't know it was in one game. And Josh goes, listen, I think this is just for this game. I'm like, nah, you're reading it wrong. It's no big deal. Triple the shots in a 3-game series. That's a lot. Then I see at the end where there was 108, and I'm like, wait a minute. Yep. They took 108 shots on this guy. Normally, if a goalie has 30 saves in a game, it's like, oh my God, what a performance. What a performance. You're telling me that there's 100+ saves in a game? Good God almighty. What the hell happened?
Sturgeon's good, but 108 can be off target. It can be blocked. It can be, but they unleashed 108 shots. And again, you are plus 14 in shots on goal. You should win, especially when you score 4 goals. And what I will say is that at least through 3 games, the Panthers are absolutely having the series stolen from them. There is one team that is exceedingly, overwhelmingly better than the other, and it ain't the Rangers. The Panthers are so much better. They're so much more skilled. They're so much more physical, and they are absolutely, through 3 games, having this series stolen from them. Grand larceny. The Rangers do not deserve to have the series lead. And I understand, because every hockey fan wants to always tell you, that's hockey. I understand that. It doesn't make it any less annoying. I'm not mad, but I'm really annoyed because the series isn't over. And even if the Panthers go down 3-1, we've seen it before, it's not over. But Christ almighty, is this annoying as hell, because I cannot remember the last time one team, certainly in a series, was so much better than another team and lost, or at least was on the doorstep of losing, or even in a game. It's fleeting when a team is significantly better and ends up losing. Like, this sucks. This legitimately is one of the more annoying outcomes that I've experienced in quite some time. And I don't become a real Panthers fan until the postseason.
Right. This just, the fact that the Panthers are playing so good and have been for now a stretch of, you could almost say 3 years, but the 2 seasons or 3 seasons ago when they lost in the first round and get crushed after winning the President's Trophy, and they had all those expectations, and then they're out in the first round. That one hit hard. But these last 2 years, getting to the Stanley Cup final last year and having them play so good all through the playoffs and that second part of the season. And then this year, just it felt a little bit different. It felt like the Panthers were a team to beat. When was the last time outside of the big three down here was like the team to beat the team we had? And it's the Panthers. Panthers are the best team in South Florida. And then this, if God forbid they don't win the game tonight and they go down 3-1 or they lose this series and we look back and say, oh, the Rangers, you had them. You should have beat them. Like you said, this just feels like the chair was pulled from underneath us for 2 straight games. It should be 2-1 Panthers, probably 3-0 Panthers at this point. But where's the hockey guy? That's hockey, Ken. That's hockey. Right.
Hey, Ken. That's hockey. I get it.
That's hockey.
I understand. I was trying to think the last time in a postseason involving a South Florida team that a series was stolen from a South Florida team. And I honestly cannot put my finger on it because the Big Three Heat lost to the Mavericks. That was absolutely fair. That was 1,000,000% fair. The 5-game loss to the Spurs to end the Big Three, that was more than fair. That was a deserved ass kicking. I mean, that wasn't even competitive. I guess thinking about it, because I can't say the Dolphins and the Titans on Monday Night Football, because you can make the arguments the Titans spent a lot of that game playing better than the Dolphins. The Dolphins were fortunate to capitalize off of back-to-back Titans mistakes, and then the Dolphins just completely puked all over themselves after that.
Yeah, doesn't it feel like the Dolphins gave that game away? Because I don't think the Panthers gave either one of these games. Like, they didn't, give it away. I feel like the Dolphins on that Monday night just shit their pants. Like, they had so many opportunities, and they let a worse team beat them. This is a little bit different.
It was a back-to-back pants filler because the Titans were in control, and then they diarrheaed all over themselves. And then it was almost like when someone vomits and that triggers someone else to vomit. The Dolphins saw that diarrhea, then they're like, oh, and got the rolling guts, and then they leaked out their pants. I feel like that's what happened there. I don't know if you remember. I think it was 2015. It was a 1:00 game. It was the Packers coming down to play the Dolphins. It was Tannehill versus Rodgers, and the Dolphins had that game won. And then the Dolphins boneheaded punt with about 1:40 left to go, and everybody in that damn stadium in Miami Gardens knew what the hell was about to happen. And sure enough, Aaron Rodgers, no problem skating the Packers down the field and beating the Dolphins. And then if you go back to 2000, and this is just me kind of spitballing it here.
Spit it out, right?
Monday Night Football, Colts. It was 2009, 2010, one of the two. Colts to Sun Life Stadium on a Monday night. The Dolphins had quadruple the time of possession, had the lead the entire game, and Peyton Manning somehow with 3 possessions in the entire game marches the Colts down the field. Pierre Garçon, the game-winning touchdown in the fourth quarter. And those are, it's all been Dolphins oriented. And they weren't playoff games, but they played better, pivotal games, season-altering games, and they got it stolen from them. I think it only applies to the Dolphins. Any comparison to what's happened here the last 2 games for the Panthers?
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to think back to the year before, the year 2005 season for the Heat, and they played the Pistons, I think, in the Eastern Conference Finals before. The Pistons beat them. The next year, that's when the Heat won the championship, their first championship.
Right. Was that maybe Game 7 at home? But I think that was a deserved win for the Pistons.
That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to think of something that maybe could relate to this, and that doesn't, because the Heat were outplayed in that Game 7 at home. They were beaten. It wasn't like the Heat had a great game and then a buzzer beater to lose it. This Panthers, these last 2 losses for the Panthers have just sucked. You gotten the life drained out of you at the end of these games. And in the first game, you thought, hey, 3-0, they're playing great. This could be fun. This could be a great series. It just sucked. The last 2, you said that you nailed it with the word. It sucked, but it's really freaking annoying that stuff happened. Really annoying.
God, it is so.
And it's the Rangers. It's just even more. The New Yorkers are out. My New York cousin called me. Hey, how'd you think of that? We're up 2-1. Shut up. Send me a bagel and shut up.
Right. I asked on Twitter, @KLV says, what is your biggest current sports annoyance? Not outright angry, but annoyed, because
Right.
I'm genuinely annoyed by the Panthers' plight right now. NSMP @Cooper_Zion says, how the Heat are currently a small market team. I don't know if that's entirely fair, though. Like, are they operating unwilling to go into the luxury cap? Yeah. Like,
but
they don't
Mickey's
want to.
always been like that. Mickey's like that in 2006. Like
Right.
Mickey's. We're used to that. They got the big three and almost didn't bring Mike Miller on board because of that. And then they cut him. What was it? The season after or 2 seasons later? Because if they would have kept him on, they would have hit the second tier of the luxury. Mickey's always been like that, and that's why. But small market, no, I can't agree with that because anytime before the Heat play in the playoffs, they could be the 8 seed, the 1 seed, the 2 seed, whatever it is. You can't be a small market team if everyone's worried about you. Right. Everyone worries about the Heat. No one wants to play the Heat in the playoffs at full strength. Different this year. No Jimmy. You traded for Rozier. He didn't play at all. Like, it wasn't the same kind of Heat kind of culture squad out there playing in that first round. But I can't say they're smaller market because when they play the 1 seed as an 8 seed and you're still worried about them, you're not a small market team at that point.
I would say there's a difference between intelligent business, which the Heat have largely been able to operate under that umbrella, as opposed to a small market approach. A small market approach entails that they are cheap for the sake of being cheap. You can be frustrated or annoyed with Mickey Arison for not getting into luxury tax considerations. That said, he did it when the big three, there was the possibility that was going to happen. If you allowed the big three to happen, you can't be called small market. Like, you can't do that. Not either when you've got a guy in Phoenix, Sheba, the owner there are reports that he's trying to pursue LeBron 1 season after he's got Devin Booker and he's got Bradley Beal and he's got Kevin Durant and he's way into the luxury tax. And what did that get him? Embarrassment. Absolutely nothing to show for it other than another tail between the legs. Embarrassment there in Phoenix. I'd rather be the Heat and live by a certain approach. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, because at least there's contextually a lot of evidence that that's the correct path to take for this organization. Than that, where you become, hey, take this money, burning cash. And then when you don't win and you fail in spectacular fashion, your fans feel like there's nowhere to go now. Like, we've got an owner who wants to spend a ton of money and do all these things, and it still doesn't bring us anything. Like, I think some Dolphins fans, and I'm very pro Stephen Ross, but some Dolphins fans feel that way. Stephen Ross obviously is going up against the salary cap, but that guy throws money all over the place. And what has it gotten him? 0 playoff wins and 3 postseason appearances in his entire time as an owner. So you can be frustrated with the Heat, but them being small market, if you want to go an S word, call them stubborn, because maybe it is time for them to change up their business practices and their approach. Maybe the NBA has finally caught up to them or passed them by, but damn it, Zach, this time last year, they were on the doorstep of going to the NBA Finals. So that's easy for me to say, they're being stubborn, when less than a year ago, they, with that same approach, went to the finals. So they're not small market. I think that we can agree on that.
No, if you want to put a team in South Florida in the small market, tell that tweeter to go about 15 miles west of where the Heat play, and there's a spaceship in Little Havana where the Marlins play. You want to call somebody a small market team down here? That's a small market team who does not care about paying players. I don't mean doesn't care about, but will not pay players. And they literally play the season out to get that revenue sharing check at the end of the year and hope that when the Yankees and the Cubs and the Red Sox and the Dodgers are in town, they get 38,000 a night in there. But when Pittsburgh comes on a Tuesday night and they have 1,200 fans in the stands and they say 8,000 tickets sold, small market.
That's small market. Absolutely.
Right.
I mean, let's be honest. The Panthers were, up until 4 years ago, small market as hell. And it's amazing what happens when you have a GM who knows what he's doing, and then you start generating some revenue, and then it's amazing how quickly you become at least not small market. I'll tell you what, this right here, this hat right here, this is the definition of a team that's in a major city, baseball crazy city, that operates as cheaply as it comes. Right. Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the White Sox, that guy has gone up over $100 million in payroll twice in my entire lifetime. And then as soon as it didn't work, he cowered, ran away, and wanted no part of doing it again. And now they suffer as the worst team in all of baseball. And I know that Marlins fans can relate to that. Maddox,
at least we bought 2 World Series. At least we bought 2 World Series. And then the day after the World Series, we sold everyone off. But we got those 2 World Series titles somewhere in old Joe Robbie Stadium or Hard Rock, whatever you want to call it now. It's sitting in there. They're somewhere, but, that's just it.
There is one small market team in South Florida, and that's the Marlins. Yeah, you can be frustrated with the Heat, think they're maybe a little bit stubborn, maybe think that Heat culture at times might be a little corny, but small market, definitely not. Maddox says, what annoys me in sports, people discrediting the Celtics playoff run. In fact, there was a story written, Ben Rohrbach, Yahoo Sports, detailing other easy paths to the NBA Finals and narratives lost to time. This was actually a very well-researched, I should say, story from Ben Rohrbach. But listen, when you play the Heat without Jimmy Butler, okay, when you play the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell goes out and the Cavs fall apart, when you play the Pacers and you don't have Tyrese Halliburton the final 2 games of that series, I don't know what Celtics fans expect. That's part of the story. And, of course, people are going to say, boy, this seems really easy, because it is easier. When's the last time we saw a team go through a playoff run where every alpha, either A, missed the series or missed a significant portion of the series due to injury? That's exactly what has happened here in this playoff run for the Celtics. Why get mad about it? You know what I would do, Zach? I would embrace the shit out of it.
Have to.
10 years from now, if the Celtics win the title, God forbid, if the Celtics win the title, 10 years from now, Zach, you and I are not going to be sitting here saying, oh, remember how easy that Celtics path was?
Right.
Because we're not going to remember it. It doesn't matter if there's a banner up there. No one gives a crap. Stop being so damn sensitive. Luck is part of the journey. The Celtics are getting luck, which is fine considering how disappointing they've been in this Tatum and Brown era to get over the hump. If this is what they need, this is what they need. Embrace it. Who cares?
It's the most spoiled fan base I have ever seen in sports in my 45 years of being on this planet. I used to think insufferable New York fans were like the most, I just can't handle them. Philly fans, they're gross. They're just... Boston fans to me are the worst. I'll say the best and worst fan base because of this. And I don't think they're the best out there, but they're good because of the fact that they're good fans. That's fine. They're bad because they're just too damn spoiled. You can't go through a 20-year span, have the Patriots win as much as they did, the Celtics win a couple, the Bruins win a couple, the Red Sox win a couple, and not just sit back and relax and enjoy it, and then bitch and complain when something like this happens. If it's the easiest path this year for the Celtics, who cares? Take your W, but don't lose that title. Because if you lose that title, like we're all hoping down here, of course, if you're a Heat fan or anyone that doesn't like the Celtics, you have your Luka jersey on, hopefully, or your Kyrie jersey on, your Dwight freaking Powell jersey on. I don't care what it is at this point. I can't see the Celtics win. I'm such a Dallas fan at this point going forward. As long as Dallas gets there, I think they got one more to go. I just can't wait to see what happens here. But if Boston somehow blows it, this was their best opportunity to win an NBA championship since the Tatum era, since the Jaylen Brown era started. This is it. You lose this one, I don't think you're getting back there ever again.
Well, I think they're going to get smoked by Dallas. That's my personal belief. But like Ben Rohrbach goes back to the 1 and 2 easiest paths to the NBA Finals were the Lakers of 87 and 84. Like, sorry for not feeling moved and saying, oh, you guys are right. This Celtics path totally normal when you have to go all the way back to 1987 and 1984 to make your point. A vast majority of the people that might be reading that story weren't even zygotes. They weren't even thoughts in their birthed humans' minds in that spot. So stop it. We can't go back to 87 and 84 to make some point about to try and make the Celtics look good about their path. Just own the fact that you didn't have to play Jimmy. You didn't have to play Donovan Mitchell at the end. You didn't have to play Tyrese Halliburton at the end. And because of that, you have cemented your place in the finals and go to work because you're going to be the underdog against Dallas, I think, in those finals. So then you can hold that banner and say, we were underdogs. We proved them wrong. Good times. Excellent. And I know a lot of people were saying, the Nuggets of last year because they had an 8 seed and they had a 5 seed and they have blah, blah, blah. But anytime you got to go through LeBron, sorry, a guy who in year 4 of his career, it's not like Jordan where eventually he started going to finals, had to leapfrog the Pistons. LeBron was there in year 4, and from that point on, anytime you beat LeBron, no matter what cast was around him, that immediately gives you some credibility in your playoff run. So I don't want to hear about the Nuggets having an easy path last year.
No, I mean, give me a break. The Nuggets were a good team last year. Path easy, path hard, didn't matter. Denver was getting through everybody last year. That was just the way they were playing, and they were playing such good ball. I actually thought that they were going to do it again this year and just run through everybody again because of the West and how it was. But this is it for Boston. Like, we've seen it before in the last couple of years where Boston has gotten into the playoffs, and they're like, yeah, Boston's the team to beat in the East. They're the best team, and they choke, and they can't beat the Heat or they can't beat this team. This is their path. This is it. Yeah. This is the Doctor Strange in the Marvel movie saying 1 in 14 million. This happens. This is it. Don't lose out on this one because it's just such a bullshit answer. If somehow some excuse comes out of this with Boston, it's absolute bullshit. I won't believe it. I won't buy into it. Boston was the best team in the East this year. Great. I don't care what their path is like. Run through it and get there, but don't lose in the finals when it was this easy. No one got hurt for your team. No one is out right now. No one is hobbled. Your team is basically at full strength, and you're going against the best team in the West. That's not even the best team in the West all year long. So beat this team and just call it a day and get your title. Because if you don't, I'm telling you, Tatum and Brown, they might not blow them up, but they're not getting back to the finals with this team that they have right here. No chance.
Like, just instead of being mad about people's observations about the playoff run, who gives a damn? Embrace it, accept it, be glad you're in the finals. And again, 10 years from now, if the Celtics win the title this year, You know what the discourse is never going to be? Hey, remember when the Celtics went up against all those injured teams in the 2024 playoffs? Nobody's going to bring it up because it's not going to matter because we have more things to worry about than a decade from now what the Celtics path was. The banner is going to say it all. One more thing. I saw some people on social media that were clowning the Celtics for celebrating after beating the Pacers to advance to the. Since when were teams not allowed, no matter how easy the path is, since when were teams not allowed to celebrate winning the conference championship? Like, I know that it's fun to bag on the Celtics, and trust me, Zach and I, we are suspects 1A and 1B when it comes to that. But celebrate. Like, they're going to the NBA Finals, but that's just an inherent hate on the Celtics because the Celtics are wildly annoying. That's where that comes from, I think.
No, it's exactly what it is. Because if there's the Heat here, we'd be celebrating. If it was the Knicks, think about what would happen if the Knicks got to the NBA Finals. What they'd be partying up and down by Madison Square Garden, up and down in Manhattan. They'd be going crazy without even winning the NBA championship. The Celtics won. Jaylen Brown got MVP. They're going to celebrate a little bit. They got 4 games to go before they're immortal champions if they can get there. That's fine with me. But I'm not going to rag on them for that. I'll rag on them if they somehow get blown out in these finals thinking they're the best team in the NBA, because all season long, all I heard from every NBA analyst, from ESPN to this, to that, to this, Boston is the best team in the NBA. This is their year. They have to win. They got an easy road there. Don't blow it now. That's all I have to say to the Celtics.
They're the best team all year. You get the 1 seed, you deserve to have an easy path. That is the whole damn point of this thing. So I I'm unbothered by it. But
Right.
I think Celtics fans just need to take a Valium and chill out. If it was the Celtics and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, how would you have consumed that? Would you have actually rooted for the Knicks? Because I was thinking about this. There's a very real chance I would have put my Jalen Brunson pants on. And I can't believe it. But I do think, even though I can't stand the ping pong, and the championship celebrations after every single solitary playoff win outside of Madison Square Garden, I think I probably would have rooted for the Knicks. But I don't know what that says about me. And part of me feels dead inside. I mean, obviously, first and foremost, I'd root for a galactic object. I mean,
Right.
I would be full meteor, full throttle fandom, but the odds of that happening pretty slim. So I'd have to follow some team. I would almost be Knicks.
Ken, I'm with you. I can't believe I'm saying it. I can't believe I would say this out loud. I can't believe I'm not in a straitjacket and on some crazy medication saying this, but if it was the Celtics and the Knicks in the Eastern Conference Finals, as bad as this hurts, as bad as my stories, embarrassing ones I've told you about Allen Houston flicking them off and not sleeping after losing to the Knicks, in high school, like I would be rooting. This is not your father's or your grandfather's Knicks team. That's why I'd be able to root for them, I think, against the Celtics. Otherwise, I hope they lose every game. I hope they 0-82 for the season. Same thing with the Celtics. But if you're telling me that in one corner over here is the Knicks and the other corner over here is the Celtics, and I got to choose one, I'm going to choose the Knicks in that. And I can't. I'm throwing up even trying to say it. But it would hurt me worse to sit there and try to root for the Celtics over anybody. The Knicks, probably 10 years ago, I would have fought you through the camera here and been like, what are you talking about? You cannot root for the Knicks. You can't root for Amari Stoudemire and Carmelo Anthony and this is the same old Knicks. It's not anymore. Jalen Brunson, like you said, he's a likable dude. Jason Hart, kind of likable dude. Dante DiVincenzo, kind of a likable dude. Celtics, I don't like Jaylen Brown. I don't like Jason Tatum. I really don't like that team in general. I wouldn't wear like a Knicks jersey, but I would be a closet Knicks fan in that. I'd be a closet Knicks fan. Yeah.
Boy, would I hate myself. That's a lot of self right there. It's a lot of self-loathing. Oh, that brings
sick. Yeah.
You had mentioned it yesterday to me that you're looking forward to rooting for the Mavericks in the series against the Celtics. And I get it. I understand that. But let's not forget, you as Heat fan, Zach, it's not like there's not a history with the Mavericks in June. You win one in 2006. You lose one to start off the Big Three. So you're willing to tell me that the Dallas Mavericks of J.J. Barea outplaying LeBron James, nearly breaking up the Big Three before it really even got a chance to get started. You're willing to tell me, Dirk, Finals MVP, you're willing to tell me that you have no problem. You will openly cheer for the Mavericks over the Boston Celtics.
It's almost like I want to go back to that Knicks Celtics kind of argument I just had. The Mavericks are still the Mavericks in my mind, and that's fine. I just don't want I don't care what it takes. I don't want the Celtics to win a championship. I don't want that team to win because I just don't want that team to win. It kind of hurts thinking that I'm putting on my Mark Cuban pants and shirt and rooting for the Dallas team that came down here and spoiled our first year of the Big Three and drank $100,000 bottles of Ace of Spades at our clubs that night and celebrated. It hurts. But let's just say Dallas does beat Boston. That means Dallas has got, 2 titles for their franchise now? He'd still have a couple more. I'm okay. Still be better than a Boston team for the next year, walking around saying we're the champs, we're the team to beat, this and that. I like it when they're the team to beat when they haven't won anything. I don't like it when they're the team to beat when they're coming off the ring ceremony to start their season. So, yes, as much as this kind of pains me, doesn't pain me as much as a Knicks kind of thing where I got to root for the Knicks. The Mavericks are the Mavericks. Luka, I'll root for in this series as long as he takes it right to Tatum at that point. That's it.
So I took it upon myself on your behalf, Zach, to head to Twitter. and ask, is it okay for Heat fans to root for the Mavs to beat the Celtics considering the Heat Mavs history? Now, Crab Smut Peddler, he says, I'm rooting for both arenas to explode. The idea of rooting for anti-Semitism or Boston makes me want to vomit. Now,
right.
Understandably, tough balance there.
Right.
Tough balance. Twitsy says, yes, however, I'm rooting for a great championship series regardless who wins. I'm actually not. I am not rooting for a great championship series. In fact, I hope it's terrible. I hope the whole thing is just a mud walk.
I hope it's 4-0. I hope that Luka or goes off for about 40 a night. Yeah, I get it. The Kyrie thing. I'm not a fan of Kyrie, the person. I'm not. Okay, that's fine. Let's just get that out of the way right here. I'm not a fan of Kyrie, the person. In this series, it's the Kyrie revenge tour against Boston a little bit. And anyone right now who's against Boston is kind of on Team Zach. And right now, it's going to be Dallas. I'm not going to like Dallas 4 games from now, 5 games from now, 6 games from now, God forbid 7 games from now if they win 4-3. Once that's over, it's done. My fandom for whatever team's playing Boston is over. But for the time being, I think it's okay for Heat fans to say, I would rather see Dallas and Mark Cuban win another championship before Boston to throw one in our faces one more time. That's it.
Super Sam, think of it like if you're a Dolphins fan and you had to choose Tampa Bay or New England. By default, you take Tampa just because it's the lesser of two evils for Miami fans. Well, yeah, obviously.
Oh, my God. Of course.
I feel nothing for Tampa. Like, even when Brady was there, I didn't feel anything for Tampa. They're not even a fleeting thought of mine, really, ever, to be honest.
Right. I mean, can Dolphin fans come out and tell me at this point if the Jets or the Bills or the Patriots were in the Super Bowl, you would root for them against any other team? No. Whatever the other team is, I'm rooting for it. If the Bills play the Niners, I'm a Niners fan. If the Patriots played whoever, I'm a whoever fan. That wouldn't matter. And the Jets, oh my God, I wouldn't care I wouldn't care who the Jets were playing at that point. You root for the other team. The Jets are the 1 out of the 3 in my mind. If you even for 1 second think about rooting for the Jets, you are no close to being a Dolphins fan.
I actually, let's go 4 major sports. Okay. The 4 major North American sports. Take it easy, soccer person. Okay, but there's 5. There's 5. Shut up. The 4 major sports. Okay. The team that currently, as it stands, currently constituted, the team that you absolutely would not back, even if they were playing a team made up of beings from the 6th circle of hell. Okay. Say that Lucifer comes up as the head coach of his own band of evil demons, and the world's future and all of religion depends on defeating this team. The current team in every 4 major sports that you would have a hard time even backing against the 6th circle of hell side. So let's start with basketball.
Okay.
What's the team that you would say, you know what? I'm okay if we all die a burning, fiery death. I can't back this team. Who is the NBA team that you couldn't get behind?
It's the Celtics right now. It's just like it's so tough for me not to say the Knicks, but I'm telling you, the Knicks are like, they're not lovable. I don't like the bing bang boom guys. I don't like any of that stuff. The F Trae Young, they're not even playing Atlanta and they're screaming fuck Trae Young in the background of the stadium. It's the Celtics. It really is in the NBA right now, the Boston Celtics. It's not second place. I would have to think about first place. You didn't even see me think. It was just, that's it.
Yeah. Like I honestly, I would take having to sink into the depths of Hades and be consumed, regurgitated for 2 millennia. I would take that over the Boston Celtics beating said Lucifer-led team.
Right.
I just would. Now let's go to the NFL. Let's go to the NFL. Who is the team that you refuse to back against Hell's football team?
Oh, it's the New York Jets. The Jets, Jets. I would be on a chain eating dog food next to Lucifer at that point if it meant that the Jets would not win a Super Bowl in my existence of life. When I am off this planet and my son maybe doesn't like sports at that point, that's fine. Jets, you can do whatever. As long as I'm on the planet Earth, as long as I am here as a being, I have a pulse, I am still talking and breathing, or breathing through a machine and talking through a computer. I don't care. As long as I am alive on this earth, the Jets cannot win a goddamn Super Bowl. That would break my heart. I think it would break my heart more than my celebration would be for a Dolphins Super Bowl. How about that?
Smug Aaron Rodgers forcing his alternative medicine / anti-vax shitastrophe all over me, because that's what's going to happen up on the podium. I was hoping to win this, but Dr. Fauci restricted me and didn't give me the chance to perform to my greatest of abilities, but I've overcome. Seeing him have any sort of joy, any sort of future career success would absolutely destroy me. Now, I kind of said it jokingly earlier about the Celtics. I truly would back Satan over Aaron Rodgers, I think. It's come to that point where I actually think that's more appealing than Aaron Rodgers. Then there is baseball. There's baseball. What is a team you refuse to back in baseball?
In all honesty, I wish I had an evil like an evil team in baseball. The most I would go to at this point, only because we hear about it the most, I think right now is the Atlanta Braves. I think the Atlanta Braves are my team. It probably was the Mets for a while because it's that New York stigma and this and that. The Phillies, it's the Atlanta Braves. It's because they were the team that's like the closest team here to Florida, if you're going to call a rival, I guess at this point. And they beat the shit out of the Marlins every time they play. I just feel like every time they play, they have the Marlins number. If the Braves got into a World Series right now, whoever's playing the Braves, I think I would root for.
But you're not passionate about it. It feels like you're not passionate about it. Yeah, because
I'm not.
I hate the Cubs. I get
it.
The Cubs. I like God's honest truth. I legitimately despise more than anything on this planet that franchise. And it's not necessarily the team or the players, but it's the fan base. There are people that I love dearly that are Cubs fans, but I'm telling you, being a Cubs fan brings a certain amount of smugness, of arrogance that should not exist, considering their track record and their history. Their love of the Chicago Cubs has nothing to do with winning and everything to do with a dangerous brick stadium that smells like piss on a regular basis, especially when the temperature gets up over 83 degrees. It's falling apart. Little pieces of concrete fall on fans at Wrigley Field. There's troughs. There's not even modern toilets at Wrigley Field. Again, just a wretched, disgusting smell. And dare I say this, unless they pay me to say otherwise, Old Style is truly the most gruesome, disgusting of domestic beers in the United States of America. I had to get that off my chest.
No, listen, I wanted you to just marinate in that for a second. I think you did. I think that's something you needed to get off your chest. And I wish I felt that passionately about a baseball team down here, except I grew up with the Marlins. You grew up with the Marlins. It's like, whatever, no big deal. And then watching the Braves on TBS and probably the Cubs on WGN when I was growing up, because those are the only baseball games you can get. So I would assume growing up, I probably rooted for like the Mets, Cubs, and Braves because it's the only things on TV. But then the Marlins were born, and I was a Marlins fan. But I don't have like a threat to the Marlins because the Marlins are a threat to nobody.
Right.
There's no
in sports, in my
opinion. They're just irrelevant, and it's sad because it's a professional team down here in South Florida with a great stadium, sitting on top of one of the greatest shit stadiums of all time, the Orange Bowl, which is still sitting there. Rest in peace, Orange Bowl.
But it was our stadium.
It was exactly. It was a shit stadium to anyone else who walked in and goes, "Oh my God, what is this?" I grew up in that stadium on Saturdays and Sundays with my dad. We had season tickets on row XX on the fence on the top, where I would lean against the fence, and at any given moment, I could have fallen from the top of the stadium all the way into the parking lot, but no one cared because you were having such a good time in that Orange Bowl. So yes, when I say shit stadium, my shit stadium, our shit stadium, who basically got a paint job and they thought the entire thing was taken care of. No, that was the first. And you brought up troughs before. First place I ever saw one. When I think I was like 7 years old, my dad took me to the Orange Bowl. We went to a game and we had to go to the bathroom. And my dad's just like, that's what you got to go in. And I'm like, Dad, it's a bowl with ice in it.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean I got to go to the bathroom in that? And there's like 20 dudes circled it. As a 7-year-old, I still was like, I don't know if I could do this.
Oh, yeah,
you know what? I did it. You just do it, right?
Every young man remembers his first in-stadium trough experience. Standing, for me, it was Wrigley Field, standing next to Phil from Skokie, and you, Luis from Hialeah. When you got to go, you got to go.
Just got to go. Right.
And then hockey. I don't really have a passionate enough team where I would say I would love for Hell's hockey team to beat this team and sentence us to eternal damnation. Though the closest to it would be Bruins fans after they danced all over my unemployment for having a Brad Marchand take in the second round.
I think as I'm growing into a bigger Panther fan, and it has happened in like the last decade, even though for 7 or 8 years there was no playoffs, and then all of a sudden there was. I almost could say, it's almost like the Marlins a little bit. I don't have one of those teams, but if I have to choose one, probably Tampa Bay. Just because I don't want that team in the state to win another. Like, they were so good for like 3 or 4 years straight where they were unbeatable. And then the Panthers were supposed to beat them and they beat the shit out of the Panthers. And it's like, all right, maybe I got a rival now. I don't like Tampa Bay. I don't necessarily hate them, but I don't want to see them win and I don't like them. The hate word is strong, but I think a couple more years of being the bandwagon Panther fan that I am and sticking on that bandwagon and maybe beating the Tampa Bay or losing to them in a series coming up, I think I might start to hate the Tampa Bay Lightning. It's possible.
Episode 9, Jetty, to the question about is it okay for Heat fans to root for the Mavs to beat the Celtics considering the Heat Mavs history? He replies, it's the question only a fan base with an unstable foundation and a shaky future would ask. No, the reason we ask that is because there's a recent history of playing said team for the Larry O'Brien trophy. So you can sit here and bask in Heat losing all you want. Heat losing is fleeting. Heat losing doesn't happen often. And it also means that the Heat have actually played for a championship, something that the Knicks haven't done. They've done once since the 70s. Since the 70s. And it came in a shortened season. So enough already.
Yeah, I mean, like with that, come on. I mean, if you understand and can understand the history here, you'll understand that question better. If you just want to be a hater, that was a perfect answer. But if you don't know what you're talking about, shut up.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, subscribe to the show on YouTube, youtube.com/@allacountshow, @allacountshow. If you're watching on YouTube right now, Zach Krantz is once again very satisfactory exhibiting how to subscribe. You just take your index finger and you point, especially if you're on a tablet. And if you have a mouse, you do the same thing to the mouse. Subscribe takes you 3 damn seconds. Subscribe, youtube.com/@allacountshow, or listen to the podcast. I was looking some good download numbers. The podcast, rss.com/podcast/allacountshow, and follow us on social media, x.com/allacountshow, instagram.com/allacountshow. Where were we? Oh, I wanted to make sure too that we discussed this because it has been all the rage. Caitlin Clark mania in the WNBA. And I promise you, while I am pro the W and pro Caitlin Clark, I do not want to go crazy on this at all. But what is your biggest current sports annoyance? Not outright angry, but annoyed. Jake messages in the Caitlin Clark WNBA narratives on all sides. The quick rundown is that there are many who believe that Caitlin Clark is getting a lot more positive attention than she should. She's not playing well, even though she's averaging 15 points a game, and no rookie in WNBA history has ever done that before. But people are taking offense to the fact that Caitlin Clark has come in and basically been given the title of savior of the WNBA. The charter flights, the sold-out NBA arenas, the TV numbers. It's all Caitlin Clark, and people are taking offense to that. She's not all that. What about Angel Reese? She's not all that. What about Cameron Brink? What about these other players that were outstanding in college basketball and led to a huge spike in popularity? And they want to point to some, I thought, very common sense takes from WNBA players before Caitlin Clark was drafted, where they said, yeah, it's going to be an acclimation process. There's a lot of good players in the WNBA. She's not going to come in and dominate right away. And guess what? They were right. Almost as if common sense prevailed there. But what social media has taken it as these WNBA players, they're sick of hearing about Caitlin Clark. And because of that, now they're going to pile on Caitlin Clark on social media. Caitlin Clark is nothing. This is Angel Reese. Angel Reese gets all this attention. LSU, Angel Reese made Caitlin Clark. It's all stupid. It's all a bunch of 12-year-olds bickering with one another on social media. It's turned into, in a non-shocking turn of events, a racial battle between who's actually responsible for WNBA popularity, Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese. Listen, social media is not real life. This is Exhibit A right here. Caitlin Clark is a transcendent star. For what reasons? I think there's a lot of reasons for that. One, she is a point guard who shoots from 40 feet. She fires Steph Curry bombs, and it's electric. She set the college basketball scoring record. She brought a completely insignificant college basketball program to back-to-back national championship games. That stuff matters. And I know that Jamel Hill wants to say, oh, well, she's straight and white. That contributes to it, I guess. But what's the point of even going to that place? That is mixing it up to try and just grab attention for you in that spot. If you think that, if that's your first thought, you're missing the entire point of this entire thing, and you've got an agenda that you're trying to push. And so nothing against Jamel Hill, but that's lazy. That's extremely lazy because you know it's going to be a fire starter of a topic. Oh, yeah, that makes sense, of course. Now, there's basketball reasons for why this matters. Oh, what about Angel Reese? Caitlin Clark wasn't anything until Angel Reese came into the picture. People knew who the hell Caitlin Clark was before they played in the national championship game last year against LSU. Angel Reese is a really good player. You know who Angel Reese is? She's Dennis Rodman with a want to score. That is not going to sell out NBA arenas. That is not going to get you charter flights. Oh, well, she was at the Met Gala. She happens to be an extremely attractive woman. She's extremely well-spoken. I love the way she plays. She's an instigator. That's good stuff right there. I'm all for that. But trust me when I tell you, Angel Reese ain't the one who's moving the needle more than Caitlin Clark. This restored interest, or at least increased interest in the WNBA, sorry, it may not fit what you want to believe, but Caitlin Clark is the main engine for that, and everybody else has fallen behind and is following her lead, whether you like it or not.
I just think that take Caitlin Clark out of the equation. And are we still talking about the WNBA as much as we are? Are we still talking about the Final Four for women's college hoops as much as we were, or the Sweet 16 or the tournament in general? Listen, my partner here, Ken, he called games up until the Final Four of men's basketball, and I couldn't stop watching games. That tournament to me was huge, and not just because of the players, because Miami and FAU were in the Final Four, and this was incredible to watch, especially from a South Floridian more than anything. Maybe the guy in Wyoming didn't like it because they don't care about FAU and Miami. That's fine. This year in the tournament, I'm going to be honest with you and tell you, I think towards the end, I watched women's basketball more than men's. I watched more Caitlin Clark games and LSU games and because of the fact that there was more good. There were storylines. There was drama. There was, can Caitlin Clark do this? Is she going to be able to get past South Carolina and LSU and all these dominant teams? Can she do it by herself? Listen, it was a match that was lit. And every once in a while, and I'm not going to say fringe sport because they're WNBA. It's a big sport. It's basketball.
Yeah. I think based on the TV numbers, it's gone past fringe sport now.
Right. We're past that. We're past what we're saying, oh, is it going to make it or not? No, the WNBA is going to be just fine. And the NBA knows that as long as they back it a little bit also, WNBA is going to be fine because they have names, they have drama, they have stuff in there, and that's fine. Caitlin Clark, to me, was much watched TV towards the end of that. When the tournament started towards the end of it, she was. I can't tell you, and this is the first time in my life I couldn't tell you if it was must-watch TV on the men's side because I didn't think there was as much drama or great teams. It wasn't the early 90s Duke that was favored by 50 in each game, or North Carolina, or the great run that FAU made or Miami made, or years ago Florida Gulf Coast when Dunk City. Like, when I have something like that to watch and attach to, that's fine. When my Gators are in the tournament, I'm attached. I watch. They play Butler. They play this. They play that. I'm watching until the end, and they usually lose early anyway, so it doesn't matter. I'm good by the second weekend. But Caitlin Clark, to me, and without going on a full 20-minute rampage on this, if it wasn't for her, we wouldn't be talking about the WNBA and the women's Final Four and all that as much as we were. Black, white, Asian doesn't matter to me. It didn't matter to me at that point. I was watching basketball, and I didn't care that I was watching women's basketball. If anyone should be happy about that, it's the WNBA and all the players in that league, because I was looking forward to see when she was going to get drafted after that also. So everyone just take a deep breath and look at the situation. This might not happen for another 10 years. You might not see another group of girls, women, like Caitlin Clark and Angel and all that. It might not. It might be next year. It might be the year after. But for right now, enjoy the ride, and it's fun. No one's telling you got to watch the WNBA, so don't be a sourpuss out there if you don't want to watch it. That's fine. But for a sports fan like me, I think it was pretty cool what happened with women's basketball, Caitlin Clark, and everything with the WNBA in these last probably 2 years.
But where I see social media going is the discourse is so toxic, and it started to align down racial lines, which it absolutely did not have to do. From a common fan perspective, a casual fan, a guard who shoots bombs is going to be inherently more interesting than a antagonist who sets up on the block. Angel Reese knows who she is and what she is, and it's why I love her. And I wanted LSU, evil coach and all, to beat Caitlin Clark in Iowa, because damn it if I don't love me some Angel Reese, because she is confident in who she is. She's going to get in your head. She's going to throw her body around, and she's going to be unapologetic for it. But as a casual fan, if you think that casual America is going to look at physical trash-talking antagonist over three-point shooting point guard, 40-foot launches scoring champion Caitlin Clark, you're just exceedingly stupid. Caitlin Clark is the engine that drives this entire thing. And then there's a cast of characters, just like there's always been for every sport that's in its prime. There's a 1A and there's a cast of characters. And it's okay to accept that Caitlin Clark is the 1A, and then there's the cast of characters who are all trying to knock her off the pedestal. And that's what makes this good. And Jamel Hill, if we want to talk about, the appeal of Caitlin Clark, white, attractive, and straight, how come Kelsey Plum wasn't considered transcendent when she came out of school? She set the women's college basketball scoring record. She's notably white. She's notoriously straight. What happened there? So stop reaching and making things up, because it's making things worse, with all due respect, Jamel.
It's well said. It's well said by you. If we just had less people who are trying to make everything racial and more people just trying to look at the story, I think the world would be a little bit better of a place. But that's just where we live right now. We live in a place where if you could either go in one direction here, or you could take this side of it, which is going to head down a mudslide of racial, or whether she's straight or gay, whether she does this. I don't care. I didn't watch the Final Four, the Sweet 16 of women's basketball, because of any other reason besides there was drama and there was people to watch. Caitlin Clark, Angel, can South Carolina be beat? Give me storylines. I didn't care if it, like I said before, I didn't care if it was a white lady, a black lady, an Asian lady, Hispanic, didn't care. Can they shoot ball? Can they shoot? Can they play ball? Can they play defense? Are we going to see a good game? Is this going to be drama till the end? Sign me up. Past that, don't give a shit.
And there's a time and a place for discussions like that where race comes into play, or gender comes into play or sexuality comes into play. There are times where that conversation should be and needs to be had. And I know it's easy for me as a white guy to sit here and make proclamations sometimes. I completely understand the place of privilege I come from. But with this discussion specifically, when there are tangible, easy, common sense connections to basketball and why things are the way they are without having to go to race or sexuality, then that's where we're starting to reach, and we're starting to really force it where it doesn't need to be forced. And that's where it takes away from meaningful conversations in the areas where then race should come up and gender and sexuality should come up. This is not one of those conversations, in my opinion, at all.
Just try to enjoy the moment. How about that? Enjoy the moment while it's happening. Like I said, this might not happen for another decade in women's basketball, or it could happen tomorrow. But for the time being, enjoy the moment. Enjoy the buzz around Caitlin Clark. Enjoy the fact that WNBA players were all saying, well, when she gets here, it's going to be a little bit different. Ooh, I like that. Let me have some of that. Give me 2 plates of that and a side of that also, because then maybe I'll watch a little bit more than I did. I am the fringe fan. I'm not watching every night of the WNBA, but when I see that Caitlin Clark is playing or Angel Reese is playing, you might get a couple more minutes out of me than you did 2 years ago. So in that case, congratulations to women's basketball in the WNBA. And WNBA, you won. Congratulations, you won.
It would just be a shame if the WNBA, its popularity being the greatest it's ever been, gets completely tarnished by the troglodytes on social media tearing the entire thing down for misdirected and misguided thoughts on things that aren't any part of what needs to be discussed about this. This annoyed me, and I think that this has been sort of the theme of the show. Didn't necessarily make me angry, but it definitely annoyed me. Dan Orlovsky, ESPN, NFL analyst. I'm not an NBA super fan, but man, the public narrative that seems to have been spread about Kyrie and hoops, and certainly his character/personality over the past few seasons, isn't what we're watching at all. Dan, the Kyrie narrative, the one that followed him out of Cleveland into Boston and then came to a head in Brooklyn, that was not perpetuated by the media. This is not a place to blame the media. Kyrie is the one that created his own and then spread his own public narrative. Don't blame the media for this. The media didn't start putting anti-Semitic thoughts into verbal output and then sending them through Kyrie. That was all Kyrie Irving. The petulant behavior, that wasn't the media. The media simply covered it. So, Dan, I understand you're trying to have Kyrie Irving's back. And, Zach, you and I are both on record as saying we love this on-the-court reset that we've seen from Kyrie Irving. But don't sit here and try to blame the media, because that's the easy way out. That's the sucker way out when it comes to Kyrie. That was all Kyrie, and only Kyrie has Kyrie to blame about what that public narrative was before he got to Dallas.
I think Dan just needs to go back and look at, forget about the anti-Semitic stuff, forget about this. How about just when he didn't want to talk to the media for a while because of the fact that he just didn't want them to go with any other narrative but what he wanted to spit out there. Whatever he said, he would say and then not talk to the media about it. So he wanted his narrative out there, but he didn't want to use the media for what they're there for, is to spread the word. That's what the media is here for. It's to spread the word, whether it's good or bad or takes or not. That's what the media is for. You speak to the media, talk to the media, you write to the media, whatever the case is. When you don't want to talk to the media, you rip the media and then throw your other narrative out there through your own forms of media. Then you got to understand that you're being annoying at that point. And then you're not really becoming the team guy, and you're blaming other things. He never blamed himself for anything throughout all of his tenure at any of these teams. It was never his fault. It was always, we won in Cleveland, but I want to be my own guy. I got to be my own team leader. LeBron's just not that guy. They put together a super team in Brooklyn. How many games did Kyrie and Kevin Durant actually play together before that whole thing was blown up, or James Harden got there and they blew it up even more than that? Everywhere he's been, it's been toxic. And you can't blame the other people. You got to kind of look in the mirror. And if you're Dan Orlovsky, say you can have your opinion on this, that's fine. But just have some facts behind it as well. Dan, you're a great football analyst. You do a good job at that. You get made fun of all the time for walking out of the back of the end zone. It's very funny for that also. This is a pretty shitty take because what you're trying to do with this take is just kind of throw all the other things out there, that it was the media's fault that he came out with all this, or the media's fault he didn't want to play, or the media's fault he took time off because stuff was going on socially. He didn't want anything to do with it. Come on, look at everything in general, and you could say what we said here. This reset in Dallas, this quiet reset, because he got there and he wasn't very talkative. He didn't say a lot. He didn't do a lot of media stuff. That's fine. He wanted to reset himself as a basketball player, which he's done a great job of. He's playing on a team with maybe the best player in the entire NBA there, and he's okay with being a 2 guy. Wow, you had that. You could have done that also with LeBron and probably won 2 more titles if you would have stayed there, but you wanted your own stuff. I just look at the whole Kyrie thing and say it's a good story if he keeps his mouth shut, plays basketball, and does what he has to do. Not the shut up and dribble guy. That's not what I'm saying. And we said this on the other show also. Have your opinion, say what you want to say. But for Dan Orlovsky in this specific moment with that specific tweet, do some research before you come out and say everything needs to be blamed on the media and everything that we've been talking about him is false. It's not right. Look at him now. He's done a dramatic change physically, emotionally, mentally, everything. And it's nice and it's fun to embrace at this point. And I'm going to be rooting for him against Boston because I hate Boston. And we already went over that. But don't try to change revisionist history here and say, oh, no, it was always been fine. It's the media's fault. Bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I think what happens, too, is that Dan Orlovsky's trying to make a point about the progress of Kyrie Irving. Okay. And by using the media as a fallback, which is always going to be an easy villain in a situation like that, he's devaluing the actual ascension that Kyrie has made, the progress, the self-realization that Kyrie worked hard to discover to get himself to a point where he's respected again on the court. He's looked at as a leader. He is seen as a potential champion in his own right. And by laying the blame at the media's feet for all the struggles that he had in Boston and then especially in Brooklyn, it invalidates the self-introspection that Kyrie appears to have made to better himself. And Dan's being very self-defeating by saying, this media narrative. No, it was not. Don't blame it on the media, because then you're cutting the knees out from underneath Kyrie, someone that you're trying to heap praise upon. It doesn't make any sense to me.
No,
and
it makes no sense.
I just thought it was very short-sighted. I thought it was extremely short-sighted from Dan Orlovsky. I want you to hear something, by the way, as we go to our next account here. This is Nick Wright. This is First Things First on FS1. Nick Wright was discussing why he felt Mike McDaniel was the Dolphins' worst enemy in cold weather games. Why maybe, just maybe, the Dolphins have struggled under Mike McDaniel in cold weather games. I adore Nick Wright. I promise you, if you haven't heard this already, Zach, you're going to be surprised where this goes, this angle that Nick Wright takes. Here's Nick Wright on the Dolphins' struggles in the cold. First things first, FS1, Dolphins struggles in the cold under Mike McDaniel.
In that playoff game in Kansas City, now that was the 3rd coldest game ever, so now we're talking extremes.
Those are right.
On one sideline, you have Andy Reid with damn stalactites hanging from his mustache.
Disgusting.
And just coaching. And Mike McDaniel, from the moment they first showed him, looked miserable. I think Mike has done everything to try to pump up Tua smartly. I also think he's a brilliant coach. I think that dealing with the cold starts with him. I think
what do you want him to do? Wear a short sleeve shirt? It's too cold.
Yes. No, well, that was too cold. No, that you couldn't have. You could lose an arm. But if it's November 3rd, they play Buffalo. According to my friends at the Farmer's Almanac, it's supposed to be 44 degrees that day. That's under that. I want him in joggers and a short sleeve shirt and just like those nothing's going on. Yeah. I think there is an element. Greg, you're rolling your eyes.
You did.
I do think there is an element. In one of the most famous games in NFL history, we had an old man's face almost break apart in Tom Coughlin, turning purple. And those Giants dealt with it, and their coach was dealing with it. I think it's...
And you're saying we didn't deal with it, and Mike McCarthy didn't deal with it.
Huh? I mean,
we just lost.
I'm just telling. What I'm telling you is, I'm not saying you guys didn't deal with it. What I am saying is, I do think there is a sense of, from your coach and your quarterback, are we going to let the elements be a part of this story?
Yep.
And Mahomes clearly was like, no, we're not. And I'm saying I think Tua might need an assist in that, and I think the assist could come from Mike McDaniel.
I think.
So if I'm hearing this correctly, Mike McDaniel looked too cold on the sideline, and his body language and or mere presence on the sideline looking too cold is what was the difference between Dolphins' success and Dolphins' failure in one of the coldest games of all time in the wild card round against the Chiefs. Is that what you're gleaning from this as well, Zach?
Yeah, and I can't believe what I just heard. Like, I just can't believe that Nick, and I like Nick Wright, and I just can't believe that he's trying to throw a narrative out there that the coach felt and looked cold, so the rest of the team, like, it went downhill from there. No, you're playing in Kansas City against Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. That's where everything went to shit for this Dolphins team. You're playing against a team that eventually is the Super Bowl champion, who's a two-time defending champion, who's going for a three-peat right now. You went up against a juggernaut. You went against a team right now that everyone should be scared of this year because of the fact that they have something to play for. The first team ever to three-peat. This is a scary team this year, and I think they're scarier than the last 2 years. But let me get back to the point real quick. So my follow-up with Nick Wright would be, so if he was in a snow coat and a hat and had, like the frozen, beard thing going, the Dolphins would have won that game? Like, that would have been the difference in the game?
Reid did not look comfortable at all. He had frozen mucus. He had a mustache to pull for the entire game. He didn't look comfortable, and the Chiefs didn't seem to be preoccupied by that. I doubt the Dolphins were preoccupied by Tom Coughlin had a purple face in that NFC Championship game in 2007 that Nick Wright referenced. Tom Coughlin did not look comfortable. Mike McDaniel had the same purple face. I don't understand the point here. If you want to say Mike McDaniel called plays miserably against the Chiefs, now that I will give to you. The fact that the Dolphins, and yes, they were trailing for a good portion of this game, but the Dolphins don't incorporate a tight end whatsoever and haven't in the entire Mike McDaniel era. The Dolphins were outrushed 34-18 in that game. Somehow, some way, Andy Reid was able to formulate with Patrick Mahomes a way to stretch the field in the passing game, whereas Mike McDaniel and Tua were not, in fact, not even close. And the most proficient pass of the day was underthrown massively from Tua to Tyreek Hill for a touchdown. All of those things, yes, you can lay at the feet of Mike McDaniel. But to say that he looked too cold and then in November in Buffalo, he needs to wear short sleeves in 44 degrees, we can do better than that, Nick. We can do better. Be critical of Mike McDaniel, but do better than that.
Blame the play calling, blame Tua's bad throw, blame the fact they couldn't establish a run game, blame the fact that the offensive line wasn't playing great, or the wide receivers weren't getting the ball, the playmakers weren't getting the ball. That's 5 just off the top of my head without even going to the defensive side of the ball, which we were missing every pass rusher, and Ken's cousin off the street was starting for the Dolphins to rush the passer. Oh, and by the way, the passer? Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift was in the stands. Like, you got to understand that the Dolphins, if they would have won this game, we would be talking about it down here in South Florida still as one of the greatest achievements this Dolphins franchise has ever had by going up to Kansas City in the frozen tundra of Kansas City and beating Mahomes and Reid and Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. And unbelievable. I don't think that the gear that Mike McDaniel was wearing had anything to do with the loss in this game. So you're telling me what I'm reading from this, and I'm reading way too into it, is if Mike McDaniel went out there in a tank top and shorts, the Dolphins would have won that game 72-0. They would have blown that team out. Okay, so let's get the message to Mike Let's get him some warmers, some long johns. And the next time they play in Kansas City in negative 15-degree weather, go out there in your underwear, no hat, and a tank top, and don't even bring the players with you. We win. Game over.
Or here's a novel concept. In the cold, we'd find a tight end who can actually function in the passing game. You find some depth along the offensive line, and maybe, just maybe you find a way to jump to a lead where you can control the running game and not have to play from behind all the time. Maybe. That's just me. Zach. That's just me. But
how about just not 3 pass rushers that the week before were eating Cheetos on the couch?
Right.
And they got, like that. I mean, snake bitten at the end of the season, losing a couple of your pass rushers, Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, Andrew Van Ginkel. Yeah, probably had a little bit to do with the fact that they couldn't get anything going. But I'm trying not to use an excuse here, but I'm certainly not going to use an excuse that Mike McDaniel just looked too cold and they had no chance. Yeah. That's stretching.
I am done with the whole injuries because there are plenty of teams with injuries and they're doing just fine. So, but yes, I think that the cold weather attire, the cold weather behavior of Mike McDaniel, probably not the reason why the Dolphins are struggling in cold weather. I would like though, and Nick Wright is correct about cold weather problems with the Mike McDaniel Dolphins. I wonder if someone could pose a query to Tua or Tyreek Hill about the mannerisms of cold weather Mike McDaniel. And we'll get a full report whether the sideline's actually affected by it.
I just think it's a funny narrative to use there. And out of a million different narratives I could have used to that game, I don't think the dressing of Mike McDaniel would have been one of them. But I'm happily easy to add it to my Miami Dolphins excuse book when I need it, and I will use it if need be. There you go.
Are you aware, by the way, of cicadas? Do you know what cicadas are?
I do not. John Cicada?
No, that's John Cicada. That's John Cicada.
Close.
Cicada. Let me give you a little tutorial. Every 17 years in the Midwest and right around the Mason-Dixon line, there is an insect. It is large. It is winged. It is red-eyed. It is terrifying. A cicada every 17 years will emerge from the soil where it has grown in eggs for the last near 2 decades. And when it emerges, Zach, I want you to look at this thing. It looks like that. It is about the size of a pinky finger, this cicada. The bigger ones are the size of an index finger. Okay? So cicadas, for anybody that grows up in the Midwest like I did, this is a way of life. Every 17 years or so. Now, I'm lucky the last 2 17-year cycles, I've not lived in the Midwest, but me as a 7, 8-year-old, I remember the summer of the cicadas, and these things are disgusting, gruesome, awful. Now, I want you to see something. I want you to look at something here. The Rocket City Trash Pandas, they are a minor league affiliate of the LA Angels. They, a couple of days ago, were able to capture on camera numerous fans catching cicadas in the stands, and I shit you not, eating them whole. No. Why is this happening? Why are we doing this? 2 people eating cicadas. Please stop. And you know what I've been able to acquire from the Rocket City Trash Pandas? That's right. Zach, have video of these people eating cicadas, and it is absolutely brutal. Take this in.
What is that?
Look how big that is.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
He's holding a cicada.
Dip in beer.
Pitch is down and away. Oh, no.
Oh.
And he seems like a well-educated man.
Way.
Right.
Well, I guess
maybe that guy doesn't.
On the act as well.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God. What are you doing, guy?
On the video board here in right field.
So you've never experienced what I want you to do now that you've watched that video. I want you one more time to look.
No.
Cicada. People
those eyes.
And just understand that there are thousands upon thousands upon thousands of these things flying around right now that the ground has become warm enough all over the Midwestern portion of this great land of ours, the United States of America. Zach, I asked you, what is the most disgusting thing that you have consumed in your life, whether it be on a dare or something that you, one way or another, found it to be either appetizing or foisted upon you that you put into your stomach?
Okay, well, I am you can't see my whole full figure right here, but I'm a little bit of a picky eater when it comes to, I'll have burgers, I'll have steaks, I'll have chicken, and there's not a lot else after that I'm even like remotely interested in. When I went to Amsterdam with about 20 of my buddies for a bachelor party years and years and years ago, they knew I wouldn't eat anything but like a piece of chicken or a steak or a burger or something like that. They wouldn't. They told me they're ordering me chicken and steak over to the side of the table, and they got me venison and I think it was like white fish or something like that.
Okay.
I was inebriated. I was in Amsterdam. We had just left the Heineken distillery. I probably had 25 or 30 beers. There was no walking involved. I couldn't walk. I ate both these things. And and immediately after I took a bite of each one, I knew I wasn't eating what I thought I was eating. And I was totally grossed out by it. And that's just because I'm picky. My other partner that I do a fantasy football show with, the Nose, eats anything. And we went to a taco place at the building where our old radio station was, and he ordered grasshopper tacos and ate them in front of me, 6 of them. And I was so grossed out that I had to leave the table. Those two things to me are probably very close. But if I was sitting next to a dude or a woman or an animal that picked up this thing with these big ass orange red eyes and ate it, nuh-uh, I'm out. I'm out. I don't care if it's the fourth quarter of a game and they're driving. I don't care if it's the fourth quarter of a basket. Nope, I'm out. I don't care if my kid's recital is going on. Peace out. I'll see you later. I'm out. Ugh.
I am very anti-insect consumption. I don't understand. My oldest daughter had a teacher in kindergarten who went to Colombia, came back with a bunch of Colombian ants, and then in the classroom would prepare a salad and sprinkle said ants on her salad as if it was normal, as if it was a common salad topping. I can confidently say I've never consumed any sort of insect, whether it be barbecued, whether it be grilled, whether it be raw. I'm not into that. And in fact, my most vivid cicada memory, 7 years old, being at my aunt's house in suburban Chicago, and you look up and you just see clouds of cicadas just flying all over the place. I mean, they're all over. You cannot walk more than 5 feet without one running into you. They are abundant. They're everywhere. And what we would do is we would take a T-ball bat and absolutely blast these things, as many as we could find, and just launch them. And they would make a ping, ping every time you connected with one right on the sweet spot of the barrel. But the problem is then there were thousands and thousands more. So it's not like you were just doing this out of sheer serial killing enjoyment. But these cicadas are absolutely disgusting. They serve absolutely zero purpose in the grand scheme of things. And just know you should feel lucky, even though it's 99 damn degrees down here every day. Feels like 107. Global warming is about to murder us all here in South Florida. At least you don't have to put up with the 17-year cicadas. These things are awful. And anybody who thinks you should catch them and eat them, you are heathens. Just understand that you don't represent the human race.
No, those two guys you just had on camera, on video from that game, literally, there should be posters put up with these two guys to stay away from them. This is gross. I can't believe someone would. And he dipped it in beer. I thought that was actually kind of funny that he dipped it in beer. Like, you know, like the random person down here will dip a French fry in a Frosty. Okay,
I'm not going to save you. Yeah, that is called the FBI. That is send SWAT team and have that person detained and arrested. That's awful. All right, I'm not looking at that cicada anymore. That is absolutely.
Ken, I'm sorry you had to deal with that even once in your life. Forget about. Oh God.
I'm in therapy over it. I
believe it. We got flying roaches down here in South Florida and stuff like that, but like not like that with the red eyes, the orange eyes. That kind of freaks me out.
Those are the most disconcerting part of cicadas, are those red orange eyes. They are freaky as hell. The flying roaches, those are what, June bugs? Is that what you call those things?
Yeah, like there's about a million different, like the flying, we call them the flying palmettos here in the house.
Oh, palmetto bugs. That's right. That's
right, because they're the palmetto. But there's about 100 different names for them. And if you lived in South Florida, you kind of know that every once in a blue moon they come out. You see like the one on the floor, and you're like, that thing ain't going nowhere. And you get closer to it, and it flies away, and you're like, "Oop, no shit. I want nothing to do with that guy."
I'm telling you. So my wife and my daughter my daughters are terrified of cockroaches. Now, I feel like my wife has instilled that fear on them because cockroaches and or palmetto bugs, they're harmless. They're not going to bite you. They're as big. They're big and crispy. Right. I understand that. I'm not necessarily scared of them. Do I want to see them? No. But just because you see them, that was the biggest adjustment I had to make is when I first moved down to South Florida, I would find them in my place of dwelling. And I'm like, my God, am I that disgusting? Like, no, they just hang out in your house. They come in your house. Like, there's a ton of them. So once you get over that, you've got to realize, all right, I can just dispose of these things. But the women in my house don't want to touch them, don't want to look at them. But to me, I still get a little freaked out when I'll see one on its back on the floor, legs up in the air. That usually denotes death, right? That usually denotes this thing is perished. And so I'll go grab a paper towel and I'll scoop it up and put it in the garbage. But then what I'll do is I'll go get the paper towel and I'll come back and it's gone. It's gone somewhere. It is scurried somewhere. It's not dead. In fact, it came back to life. And that's why these things can survive nuclear blasts. It's why they're going to outlive humans on this planet. They're going to be able to live when hell's basketball team comes and beats the Boston Celtics, which I rooted for against my own interest because I can't stand the Boston Celtics to that extent. They will still be surviving. I do think that the roaches, the palmetto bugs, they are the cicadas of South Florida, except they're here every day, every hour of every day.
Only one way to dispose of them. If you're not going to just crush the thing, which plenty of people do, you pick that thing up with toilet paper and you throw it right into the toilet. You don't put it into a garbage, because if you put it into a garbage, you're going to go through what Ken went through when you're going to go back to that garbage later and be like, God, I got that big son of a bitch. And he's not in there anymore. And then you have to worry where he is in the house at that point.
Correct. Let me ask you this. Do you murder them, as in crushing them, or do you let them survive in the toilet? Because they can swim, and they will be able to survive that trip to the sewer and then the intracoastal or wherever the sewage goes, hopefully not to the intracoastal, and then back to wherever they're going to reside. Do you murder, or do you give them a reprieve?
I try not to murder, but some of them get on my bad side, and at that point, if he's really trying to get away from me and then he crawls into a little hole or something and then I can't see him and then he pops out another one, death is the only thing that's going to happen to that guy. But if he's just like in the bathtub and he's just sitting there and my son sees it, or my wife, now my wife is just like your wife. My wife sees a cockroach, she leaves the house. Like until said cockroach is murdered or has been flushed, and then another flush on top of that to make sure the first flush might have gotten him into the sewer, the second one got him into the intercoastal, whatever the case might be there. That's the only way she enters the house again. But I try not to. But if that little son of a bitch is trying to be a son of a bitch, then you got to murk him. You got to murk him. Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. On that note, with tips for proper cockroach / palmetto bug removal, why don't we pick this back up on Friday? Maybe not the roach conversation, but like the show, we'll pick it back up on Friday. Hopefully Friday, Zach, we are talking about a Panthers win instead of this series being stolen from them. And we'll also get ourselves into a little weekend preview. A lot to do. Here's my suggestion. One, take our advice on roaches, avoid cicadas, and also subscribe to the show. YouTube.com/@allacountshow. YouTube.com/allacountshow. Pokey. Just poke your tablet and subscribe, or poke your mouse or your laptop and subscribe, and it's right there for you, ready to consume as soon as it's posted, usually on Mondays, Fridays, but because of Memorial Day weekend, this today being a Tuesday, make sure to follow our social media, our show social media, x.com/allacountshow, instagram.com/allacountshow. And how about a follow for your boys, Zach Krantz, x.com/Zach Krantz, x.com/KLV says, and on Instagram it's Zach Krantz, and on Instagram it's Ken LaVicka. Also requiring your index finger to make contact with your device, and then you'll be following just like you're subscribing. Zach, what we're going to do as well on Friday, we are going to debut the new Ken LaVicka puppy. How about that?
Oh.
How about that? On this show, we will be debuting the Ken LaVicka puppy. It'll be a real animal, this isn't a bit. This is a real goddamn dog.
Wow. So also what you're going to get on Friday is you're going to see Ken LaVicka with a brand new puppy in the house. What the face is going to look like 3 days into that also.
Oh, yeah.
Fun also. That's
under my eyes were
right.
Just wait. Yeah.
My old dog's sitting on the couch right now. Can't wait for me to get out of this room so I can give him a treat and we can go back to the fat ass on the couch. Ken is dealing with a puppy, a baby. This should be fun on Friday, right?
So the debut of the new LaVicka puppy coming up on Friday, and a lot of other nonsense as well. Zach, we'll talk to you Friday, my man.
See you soon. Go Panthers. Please, Rangers. No. Stop it. Let the Panthers win a couple here. I want to wear this jersey as much as I can because I don't wear it a lot. And listen, when I'm doing this, it's especially with the Panthers playing, superstitious-wise, jersey, no undershirt, no pants. That's how we do it here on all accounts.
There we go. No pants, Panthers. I feel it tonight. That's Zach. I'm Ken. It has been by all accounts, youtube.com/@allacountshow. Subscribe. Talk to you Friday. Bye-bye.